It was off to the small town of Holmavík to visit the Icelandic Museum of Witchcraft and Sorcery, a gem of the Westfjords. Iceland has a rich history of witchcraft, and the Strandir region in particular is known for sorcery and magic. Very little is known for certain about the magic used by Icelandic heathens, as there's very little surviving evidence. What is known is that sorcery was part of the old Germanic religion, and magic was connected to the Norse god Odin. There are mentions of magic in Eddic poetry and the sagas, though these were written 2 centuries after Christianity's widespread adoption, so they aren't direct accounts of these practices. Though Iceland adopted Christianity as the official religion in the year 1000, the use of magic continued for centuries afterwards. The earliest surviving staves and grimoires, characteristic features of Icelandic sorcery, date back to the 17th century. But there are mentions of grimoires and staves in some recorded witchcraft cases before then. The origins of these unique forms of magic found in Iceland later on is hard to know. Some signs seem to have their roots in medieval mysticism as well as Renaissance occultism, and others bear resemblance to runic culture and old Germanic beliefs in Thor and Odin. While there are lots of unknowns when it comes to the history and practice of Icelandic magic, the evidence that does survive provides a valuable glimpse into the lives and circumstances of the people who practice magic. Isolated in the frigid North Atlantic, surrounded by thrashing waves and bombarded with wind and snow, Iceland's harsh climate made survival a struggle for the country's inhabitants. And it seems a lot of the magic practiced in Iceland was used by lower classes to try and ease this burden of survival. Some themes in Icelandic magic include preventing thefts, finding thieves or stolen goods, and a lot of spells pertain to abundance, whether that's helping a fisherman with their catch or assisting traders succeed in their deals. There's also quite a bit of malevolent and consequently protective magic. Several rituals and staves are intended to cause suffering to others. This includes magic intended to kill or maim livestock, make people ill, summon bad weather, and in at least 3 cases, cause uncontrollable farting in your enemy. And there are an equally diverse array of options to protect oneself from baneful magic. As notable as the witches of Iceland were the witch hunts. The witch craze was imported from mainland Europe by members of the ruling class who were educated in Denmark and northern Germany. There are roughly 130 recorded witchcraft cases between 1554 and 1719 in Iceland, and between 1625 and 1683, 21 Icelanders were burnt alive at the stake for practicing magic. Others found guilty could be subject to lashing or whipping. When people think of the victims of witch hunts historically, we typically think of women. In Western Europe and North America, women were disproportionately accused and persecuted in witch hunts. But in Iceland, only around 10% of those accused were women. There's also no evidence that torture was ever used in Iceland during the witch hunts to secure confessions. I guess that's a good thing? Additionally, one local told me that Iceland is the only place where those convicted of witchcraft were actually guilty of practicing witchcraft. Whether it worked or not, we can't say. This stands in sharp contrast to the witch hunts in Western Europe and North America, where accusations of witchcraft were often used falsely to demonize or criminalize people who did not conform to society's values. However, I only heard this from one local and I was unable to find any other sources confirming this, but I thought it was an interesting thing to note. Continuing the exploration of witchcraft in Strandir, it's off to Kotbeli Kuklarans, the sorcerer's cottage in Bjarnarfjörður. People in Iceland have lived in turf houses since Iceland was settled around the year 874, and the practice continued until 1966. This turf house is a recreation of what a sorcerer's cottage might have looked like during the 17th century Icelandic witch hunts. The building consists of 3 connected turf houses made from stones and driftwood according to traditional methods, and it provides a fascinating glimpse into what life might have been like for a 17th century Icelander.